music too.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
I didn't know you could be hungover as background music.
Apparently, you can.
Welcome to Mutants and Masterminds Monday, or Mumamo if you're nasty. We are hanging out today. It's just the gents. Crystal's on an away mission.
Yep.
And we are, we're trying to figure out in what world this is lounge music. It's
so a-tempo, you can't dance to it. That's why it's lounge music.
Right. You have
You're trying to find the rhythm.
It is a tempo, yeah, for sure. A bad tempo.
Troy puts up the modesty shield so you guys can't see me dancing to the music before the show starts.
Right.
I've learned the hard way. AJ Real says, howdy, folks. Hey, AJ. It's the little pre-show. Absolutely. Little pre-show semi-funk. It is the combat challenge, and I've got a little twist that I'm going to drop on. Hey, it's Jonesy, and he says, hey, Ronins.
Hey, Jonesy.
Hey, Jonesy.
You know, why don't we just do away with this music before I don't know what. But first, before I do, hey, guys. How are you today?
I'm great.
Good. You excited about this combat challenge?
Yeah.
Excited's a strong word.
All right. Well, so tell me what you have prepared. So the idea today is just to sort of dive into how combat works. Yeah. And this is so funny. Is the twist?
Oh, if only.
If only. Hey, David Bodie. Oh, why don't we? Before we dive right in, let's give people a little chance to sort of to kind of come in and, I've been thinking about, how to really just make things difficult for you today in this combat challenge. But when we originally had the idea, it was just to sort of show off the Mutants and Masterminds combat situation and how combat is resolved in Mutants and Masterminds. Mm-hmm. Hey, Brian Furman says hi, friends.
Hey, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
How you doing, Brian? Good to see you. I've known Brian since he was just a little kid way back in the day, probably like 15 years or so, maybe even longer. Wow. I know, which is weird because I'm 28. So, okay, so it's combat. It's time to throw down. Why don't you do me a favor and let's talk about you. You created some stats. You've got some stuff ready to go. What have you got?
Well, we grabbed some stats.
Okay.
Alex and I grabbed some of the archetypes from the Deluxe Heroes Handbook. So I have the Powerhouse, and Alex has the Crime Fighter.
Okay, now talk a little bit about your, what are you chose those archetypes? What do they do? What is their thing?
There's also no reason neither of us could be the fighting corgi.
That's true. That's true. Depending on whether or not the fighting corgi is a sort of, gadgets martial arts master or, a giant, bulky human corgi with superhuman strength.
Creepy. Oh, this is an interesting one. Sean, one of the Seans out the gate has a great question. We'll dive into that just as soon as we learn a little bit about your archetypes. Just describe them imagine that I've never played. Describe for me what those archetypes are about.
Well, the crime fighter that I'm playing is sort of a skilled, heavily advantaged person using equipment and technology and his supreme martial arts skills to overcome his opponents while looking sort of like a bat.
Okay.
But in a totally trademark free kind of way.
Yeah, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I like that. Bat him. Okay.
I'm actually Baton Man.
Baton Man. Okay, I love it. Go ahead, Steve.
And the Powerhouse, true to their name, is really strong and really tough. Um, nigh invulnerable, as they say, and has a few sort of super strength tricks up their sleeve, but that's pretty much their shtick. So beyond those sorts of things, there isn't a whole lot else that they do, at least by
Gotcha.
default.
Okay, and so for Mutants and Masterminds, a combat encounter, what are the steps and how is it resolved?
Okay, so combat encounters in Mutants and Masterminds start off with basically start off with an initiative check, which is going to determine the order in which all the characters involved in that combat go. It's pretty straightforward when we're just dealing with two characters, because it's all about basically just who goes first. But if it's a whole group of characters, then obviously it's more involved in terms of who goes second, third, fourth, etc., etc. So far as that goes.
Okay.
And like all checks in Mutants and Masterminds, an initiative check is just a D20 roll plus a modifier. In this case, the initiative modifier.
Gotcha. Any other things that GMs ought to know when this, like, is there ever a time in a combat that the GM would be required to arbitrate or pass, or you just leave it to the dice?
I mean, yeah, there's going to be questions that come up with how certain maneuvers work, how certain powers can be applied in a given situation. If a power stunt makes sense for the extra effort or hero point you want to spend to use it.
Mm-hmm.
The arbitration mostly comes down to how can we make this the coolest scene possible and make it fair.
Yeah, that's pretty much the maxim I use too.
All right, and you both see my little private chat. Is it you're giving me a nod? Yeah, that's a yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, Claude, I'm about to dive in, and I see this from Claude.
Mm-hmm.
It's love that turns a powerhouse into a power home. That's really sweet.
Mm-hmm. Have fun on TikTok, Tabletop Santa.
Oh yeah, Tabletop Santa. We got to get together. I will be reaching out to you in short order. But good to see you, and thanks for stopping by. Always a delight. All right, so here's the thing: you are going to be engaged in a combat, but here's the twist: you can't use this action twice.
All right.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can see the wheels turning. And so
Yep.
now
that's harder for Steve than it is for me.
I was going to say Alex has a bit more of an option. Has more options there than I do. So.
Okay. Now, is that a fair challenge? Should we add something on there so that Alex has a hard time too? Or are you?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
My hard time is going to be hurting Steve if we're fighting each other.
Okay, perfect. And then so will you both be using now, Steve? I know I heard your dice earlier. Alex, did you bring real dice to the party?
I brought a real D20.
Look at that. That's a chunk of
D20. Have dice will travel.
Nice. Always ready, on the ready with the dice. Okay, let us begin. How does this?
Okay. So, one question before we start, because the standard Mutants and Masterminds rules are that heroes start with 1 hero point at the start of every adventure. Are we going to give each of these characters 1 hero point each? Because it's sort of the unusual situation of heroes fighting each other, or do we want to up that amount, change that amount?
I think we should start with 1, and chat can award us hero points when they want.
That's exactly what I was going to recommend.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
And I think that we'll, and the arbiter of, how that'll work out will be, make me laugh or something so that we can, that way we don't end up with like 20 different hero points for each other, or be clever in some way. And this is a good question from Claude, just as a clarification. Using varying maneuvers with 1 attack count, does that count as attacks for the purpose of repeats? I feel like a variation on a maneuver is just that maneuver with a little paint job, like, right? I mean, like, it feels like that. I mean, what do you think, guys? I mean, I know
that does help us cover the bases of wanting to show everything that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Which is a good way of justifying it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so what do we think?
I'm not the GM here. I'm a victim here.
You
Right.
are. That is very true. So, I mean, I'm leaning towards saying, unfortunately, no, but
Okay.
then the answer is no. All right.
Fair enough.
All right. Then let's do it.
Okay. So,
Where is this fight taking place?
Okay. Where do we want the fight to take place?
I think you're at a water park.
All right. Now that provides some interesting potential. All right, water park it is.
I didn't bring my water suit.
All right.
Well, I'm off to an average start. I got a 12 for my initiative.
All right. I got a mighty 6. So the powerhouse is not so fast. Unsurprisingly, the crime fighter has the initiative. It goes first.
Yep. And for my first trick, I'm going to reach into my utility belt, pull out a couple of small spherical objects, and toss them at the powerhouse, and detonate a flashbang in his face.
Okay.
Ooh, wow.
So, tell the chat about the effects of that.
Yeah. So this flashbang is going to be a burst area dazzle, so an affliction that affects visual and auditory senses. It's rank 3. So the first thing Steve has to do is make a dodge save for DC 13 to see how flashbanged he gets.
And that is a mighty 9 on my dodge save. So he takes it right in the face.
And he needs to make a fortitude save, also DC 13.
Now that, on the other hand, I pretty much can't fail. And I don't, because it's like a 33. So in spite of taking the flashbang grenade pretty much full in the face, the powerhouse just sort of shrugs it off and is like, was that supposed to do something?
And I will bat squint at him and run away.
All right. So on his turn, the powerhouse is going to, since the crime fighter is a good distance away, the powerhouse is going to grab a nearby, let's say, sort of floaty, sort of life preserver thing, and chuck it at the crime fighter like a frisbee thrown at, like Mach 2.
Nice.
I'm just a dude.
All right. So that is a ranged attack with his throwing skill, which I rolled a 12. His +8 throwing gives him a 20 to hit a dodge value of 10, basically, which I'm pretty sure is not quite enough to hit the crime fighter.
It's not. I have a dodge of 12, so the mock frisbee flies by.
Yeah, to be clear, it was not a child. Steve wasn't throwing children, not yet.
Which of us is the bad guy?
That is yet to be seen.
Fair. But the life preserver whips over. I drop to the ground and do a sick flip to jump back up on my feet.
Nice.
All right, now it's your turn, Alex.
And I'm not quite ready to get into melee range with the powerhouse, so I'm going to spend my first hero point.
Hey.
To add a favored environment advantage for this round.
All right.
Favored environment, water park.
Water parks.
yeah.
And I will use that advantage to get a +2 to my attack instead of my defenses.
Okay.
And I'm going to grapple line up onto the swirly bits of the water slides and try to get through into the scaffolding. And as I do, I will chuck a boomerang at the Powerhouse, and I will use 5 points, 5 points of power attack.
Okay. So power attack means that Alex's crime fighter is going to take a -5 penalty on the attack roll to hit my character. But if he hits, he's going to do +5 to his usual damage.
Yep. And because I took favored environment, I'm offsetting that -5 a little bit, so it's only a -3.
Right.
Because, as the chat mentioned, I have prep time. I prepared this water park for our fight.
Right.
Baton Man is prepared for any form of park. Calvin's right.
Any amusement park situation.
Yeah. Okay, so I rolled an 11 on the dice. I get a +14 to hit for a 25. I subtract 3 for my power attack, which takes us down to 22 to hit your dodge DC.
Right, which is more than enough because my dodge is only a 6. Not so fast. So once again, a solid hit. But this time, how much damage are we looking at?
Usually it would be 4 damage, but because I used 5 points of power attack, it's going to be 9 damage. So I need a DC 24 toughness save.
All right. Unfortunately, I rolled pretty well. And I have a 29 on my toughness save, which means I still pretty much shrug that damage off.
You're just making him mad.
Yep.
That's my move. That's how Baton Man operates.
All right.
As I chuck the rotating baton out, and it slams into the Powerhouse and just drops onto the ground.
Hey, real quick, before we move into the next one, there is a question wondering, why are these two heroes fighting each other before inevitably teaming up? I believe that was Claude.
Right.
Yeah. Is it, why are you two engaged in this?
Well, I mean, it's the classic hero misunderstanding, of course, where we're both tracking the same villain to this water park. And we mistakenly think the other guy is the bad guy that we've been tracking down. Because how many costumed weirdos can there be in this water park?
Right. I gotcha. Nice.
Superheroes tend to be kind of punch first and ask questions later.
Interesting. I like that since Claude, you kind of brought that up, and everybody was very, very impressed with the notion of using a hero point to get favored environment. So I'm gonna allow it. Yeah, I'll allow it. So
all right. See, that's just like a free hero point right
Yeah,
there.
I will take my hero point back. Thank you, Cat and the Almighty Troy.
Okay, all right. I like it. Then that's what's going on here. That sort of nothing, too out of the ordinary, but certainly understandable. So I believe it's you, Steve, right?
Yep. All right. So the Powerhouse is getting tired of getting things just thrown at him. So he uses his mighty leaping ability to leap up and cover the distance up to the scaffolding in the water park ride where the crime fighter is perched, and he's going to land up there and try and grab him in a powerful bear hug to restrain him and see if he can just put an end to this.
Well, so we have Baton Man. Are you the Mulk?
The mulk.
Kind of a giant brown colored, kind of a mulch colored, we'll call you the
right.
Mulk. Okay, maybe. I mean, think about it.
It's Baton Man versus the Fighting Corgi.
Right.
That just creeps me out. Just a big corgi giving you a big hug.
Where's Stan when you need him?
Right?
Yeah. Careful what you wish for. He's probably just thinking about it.
Could be lurking in the background even as we speak.
That's right.
All right.
Okay.
So I don't have to roll for the leap because I've got more than enough distance to cover the distance to jump. In some cases, the game master might ask for a dexterity or an agility or an acrobatics check to make sure I land in the right area. Specifically, depends on how fiddly you want to get with it. But we'll assume that that I land on the place in question. So in order to grab Baton Man, first I have to make a close melee attack to hit him, essentially. Nope. As if summoned, Sand has appeared. So, but unfortunately, that was a terrible roll. So I've got like a 10, which, isn't anywhere near enough to grab the very nimble Baton Man. Hold still!
You've robbed your last water park. And I will not hold still. I have a plan. I'm going to drop a ninja smoke bomb around us.
All right.
It's a burst area visual concealment attack.
Okay. And because that's an area concealment, there really isn't any saving throw or resistance check for me to make against it. And it turns out that the Powerhouse doesn't have any special senses. So the smoke bomb pretty effectively blinds me.
Oh.
And I will bravely run away and hide and prepare for an ambush.
All right. So, are there any special considerations as it relates to like preparing for an ambush? Is that a real thing? Or are you just buying time with some, with some fun flavor?
Mostly buying time and
Yeah.
showing another move that the crime fighter has.
Okay. Nice.
Right. So in this case, is the crime fighter going to be in need of a stealth check?
Yeah, that feels right to me. And I have skill mastery stealth, so I will go ahead and take my routine, which is a 24.
And skill mastery is an advantage that allows you, instead of rolling the die, to just say, treat the roll as though it were a 10, and treat your total like that for any situation where you can essentially handle it as a routine action.
Gotcha. I do like this. Is very evocative of the character you're playing. Tee.
Oh, maybe I am the villain.
All right. So the Powerhouse sort of staggers out of the cloud of smoke, waving an arm to disperse it, looking around for where his opponent has disappeared to. So this is where I will make a perception check to see if I can find where the crime fighter has gone. Not bad. I have a 13 and my perception is a +6. So that gives me a 19 total, but
I have 24.
Oh no.
The crime fighter's routine stealth is still way better than that. So the Powerhouse sort of looks around in vain to figure out where this guy has gone.
The teehees are coming from all over the place, echoing off of all of the. Let's see. Oh, here's a question. This is a question that I believe relates. So, the stealth roll is the other part of the speed move action to cover, and well, this is actually. But anyway, do you have an answer for this?
Yeah, I mean, the stealth roll is definitely part of the crime fighter's move. Because he created concealment, he can hide because I can't see him as far as that goes, at least for the moment while he was hiding. And the perception check is a little bit more active on the Powerhouse's part. It's still a free action to perceive. So far as that goes, but because I didn't see him, I don't have a whole lot of options as far as what I'm going to do next. So the Powerhouse is just kind of looking around, but not seeing anything at the moment. So it kind of puts the ball back into the crime fighter's court.
And I will take that ball, break it in half, and I will use extra effort to turn it into bolas and throw it at you to try to snare you.
All right.
Wow.
Which I'm going to power stunt off of my smoke pellets that I've already used, which is a cloud area concealment attack. So I can do a range snare that is rank 4. Resisted by dodge, overcome by damage.
All right.
And I will chuck it over at you, and I will use 2 points of power attack.
Okay.
Oh no, I rolled a natural 1.
Oh
Ooh.
no! What happens in this case?
That's an automatic miss.
Yeah. So I break apart the wrong pellet, and another smoke pellet goes off in my face instead of the one that's my bolas.
That's awesome.
And unfortunately, by attacking, he also gives away his position.
Yep. And now he can come over here and get me.
But instead, on his turn, the Powerhouse decides that he is going to use his shockwave attack and hit the structure of the superstructure of the scaffolding in order to send a powerful wave of force out to hit the crime fighter instead. So
Nice.
that
That's a good move.
does burst area damage. It is damage 10. So since it's an area effect, the crime fighter first needs to make his dodge check.
Yep. And I don't have evasion, so I don't get a bonus to this like you would if you had that advantage, but I do have uncanny dodge, so I'm not caught unawares by it.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 27 on my dodge save.
Okay, which is enough to half the effect. So it knocks it down to damage 5, and then a toughness check against that.
So I'm looking for a 20 on my toughness save.
Yep.
And I get a 19, so I take the first hit.
1 hit.
Oh, you do take that's the first, the first damage.
The Powerhouse draws first blood.
Of course, this is also the time where the game master says, so what is the material strength of this scaffolding that is, holding you both up?
The other question I was going to say is, would that also impact the smoke, or like would that force, or the force of whatever you just did kind of blow the smoke away, or is that still hanging around?
Well, I've moved out of the area
gotcha.
of the smoke, and it's probably dissipated.
Yeah,
All
it
right,
only lasts for a round.
All right, good.
But it's fair to ask, how tough is this scaffolding?
Yeah.
How high up is the scaffolding is my concern.
For that matter.
Right, yeah. That's a good question. Chat, what do you think as far as the strength? In my mind, I'm seeing it as it's not the strongest thing. I mean, this is a water park after all, and they're, sort of made, right. out of...
It's hard plastic and barely checked bolts that were installed 40 years ago.
Loose bolts and, right.
Light construction material at best.
Kids coming out of the water. Oh, look, I found a bolt. Yeah, it's so I wouldn't say, and in this scenario, how would a GM sort of consider that? Because I imagine, especially knowing the folks that play Mutants and Masterminds, that they will have already considered the strength of this. Is it a measure of something against something? Adamantium water slide? No. A normal. So
we're an Atlantean water park.
Bodhi Squire says 5. I'm not sure if that's the way it works. You just pull the number out, and then Bodhi says I would give it the strength of normal pipe.
Well, as a matter of fact, Mutants and Masterminds does take this into account. There's a section called damaging objects. which basically talks about how you damage inanimate things. Essentially, objects have a toughness value just the same as characters do, based on whatever the thing is made out of. Folks seem to think that toughness 5 sounds good for the scaffolding.
Yeah.
So basically, what it does is we would roll a toughness check for the scaffolding, and that could be better. The scaffolding only rolls a total of 16 against a damage difficulty of 25 for the full damage.
We're going in the water.
It says, we're talking about damaging objects, that a object with 2 degrees of failure on the toughness check, which is the case, results in a bend or a break in the object, while 3 or more degrees of failure will destroy the object entirely. Now, I'm going to say that with just 2 degrees of failure, a bend or a break is probably going to happen at the point of impact. So odds are pretty good that the Powerhouse basically just smashed the support that he's standing on, or at the very least damaged it so much that it gives way, and he falls and bounces off the scaffolding a couple of times before he eventually lands in the water down at the bottom. This is where we can also take a look at how you handle the amount of damage you take when you fall.
Yes, this was all part of my preparation.
Right? And falling damage is based off of how far you fall over a distance, plus a basic modifier. In this case, I'm guessing that our Powerhouse has probably only fallen somewhere between 30 and 60 feet. Probably not much more than that. Which means that the falling damage is probably low enough that his impervious toughness just soaks it all.
Gotcha.
He has a certain level of toughness. Basically, there's a threshold of damage that's so low for him, it's not even worth bothering. So he bangs off of a couple of supports and lands in the water, and it doesn't look good at all, but he isn't hurt. Gotcha. He just starts getting back up.
But
if anything, it just makes him mad. It's his own damn fault, though.
But unfortunately for the Mulk, I have brought something from my 60s utility belt.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to spend a hero point to do this extra effort without taking fatigue. I forgot to mention I am fatigued from the last extra effort. I didn't use a hero point for that.
Yes.
But I'm going to swing out on my rickety scaffolding over where the Mulk is in the water, and I'm going to reach into my utility belt and pull out some Atlantean sea monkeys that I borrowed from the King of Atlantis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm going to sprinkle them into the water, and they are going to be fast-acting consumers of incredible flesh. I don't know.
So you're basically feeding Atlantean sea monkeys with the Mulk.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to power stunt a weakened toughness.
All right.
Hey, Jay, Greg, good to see you. We are in the midst of a combat here. It's the Baton Man versus the Mulk.
And again, I'll use 5 points of power attack because I want this to work.
Okay.
He's so tough. So that's a 21 to hit the dodge DC.
Yep.
In which case, it will be a fortitude resistance to a weaken effect, weaken 9.
Okay, so it's a DC 19, but the Powerhouse's fortitude is 14. So even with a 7, which is what he rolls, it's still enough to resist the effect.
So the sea monkeys splash down into the water. They foam a whole bunch against the Mulk, but nothing seemingly bad happens.
Right. He just, splashes and flings them off.
That's great. That's great. So they're just like nibbling, futile.
If anything, it was just like an exfoliation for the Mulk skin.
Right. Exactly. If anything.
Alvin's killing me. Dawn of the water slides.
Dawn of the water slides.
In a world.
And I will land gingerly on the side of the pool. A little warm.
Okay. Let's see. Well, see, my initial thought was to do something with like creating a big wave or the like in the pool, but to me, that kind of violates the no same actions rule.
Yeah,
that's kind of a variant on the Powerhouse's shockwave thing. So instead, the Powerhouse is just going to go for straight up grabbing a fallen piece of debris and swinging it like a big club at the Baton Man, just to knock him out of the park. Woof! That's not a bad roll. So that is a 25 with my unarmed attack. Since I'm using an improvised weapon to extend my reach, I'm going to call that a 23
That's still
to
enough
hit.
to hit. That's still enough.
But yeah.
Ouch!
So,
My most of me.
I have, and because the Powerhouse has strength 12, it is a DC 27 toughness check.
And I have one bruise.
Right, so DC 28 effectively.
Oh no. I rolled a 2.
Oh no.
Plus 7 is 9.
So I think,
and I don't have a hero point to spend on a reroll, so I have to eat whatever you send my way.
Right, and I think that pretty much just knocks him right out.
Yeah.
Oh, like knocks you out, unconscious?
Yes, that's like, my most of me. Yep. All broken.
Wow.
Yep. That's a KO because it's 4 degrees of success.
Okay, well, shoot. Is that it then? And we just throw him in the dumpster and move on?
That would be...
Ouch.
Alex's character having a hero point there would have made all the difference as far as that goes, because he could have re-rolled that toughness check and he would have been guaranteed a certain minimum result.
Yeah, I would have needed a 20 to not get hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, so then this effectively ends this
particular example.
Yeah.
I will push a button on my gauntlet and say, "Tonfa lad, come get me."
All right. Okay. So now, here's what's interesting: is that I think that we had some fun cinematic moments, some humor. Baton Man's blasting off again. So here's a question now. Do we want to switch it up? Can you pick a couple more archetypes and we can kind of play it into different, kind of do another round? We've got about half a show left nearly.
Well, we could. I was going to ask if we wanted to answer any particular questions.
Sure. Okay. That's a good question.
Might have had as far as that goes. This example was one we chose specifically because these two characters are very different in their design approaches. The Powerhouse is obviously straight up toughness, strength, and damage. And the Crime Fighter is much more about speed, agility, and flexibility and skill, essentially, as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Also, anybody who's ever seen any of my streams knows that this is typical for me. I usually get knocked out.
A question for you two, though. So, is there, when you think about the types of players that there could be, like people who are just brimming with, you know, uh, ideas and creative sort of resolutions to things, or people that really want to, like, I could imagine there being a type of archetype that is really great for people who want to have a little bit more extemporaneous fun, or people who
Hmm.
really want to just sort of get in there and focus and really lean into the actual archetype for all of the answers. You know what I mean? As far as that
Mhm.
goes,
Yeah,
is that okay?
that's true. I mean, generally speaking, M&M characters who have either big power arrays or variable effects or the like tend to have the most flexibility
Mhm.
because they already have a fairly broad range of options to begin with, and they have a lot of options for power stunts that they can do as well.
These are
Yeah.
great. Sorry, I'm reading the comments, but that's that. I mean, that's great. I mean, it's sort of the vibe and I like that because it is just another example of the variability, and the texture of the game really offers a little something for all kinds of folks, or just whatever mood you're
Hmm.
in, right? I mean, there are
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
times when, yeah, you want to
And
do
you can
something a little
tease a
different.
lot of that flexibility out of any archetype. I mean, I think it really
that's
comes
true.
down to the player who want however creative they want to get with their use of their powers. Because for some people, that's a draw to superheroes in general.
Right, right. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, so Claude is talking about high intellect plus gadgeteer
Mhm.
know-how helps to justify the wacky power stunts. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah. I
having a
mean,
good
some
GM who's willing to roll with it and help you come up with ways to do your power stunts if you need that helping hand.
gotcha. Squire's got a question here
mhm.
about the makeup of. So I noticed some archetypes are a little below the power level ceiling, while others bump right against it. Is that thematic mostly, or are there mechanical reasons why that might be?
It's primarily thematic, but there
Mhm.
are some mechanical reasons why you would want to design a character below the campaign's power level limits, especially if they have a certain variability in their form or their
Mhm.
abilities or things like that. And you want some wiggle room for the character to get some extra bonuses that aren't circumstance bonuses, which aren't power level limited.
Yeah,
Um,
size
but
changers strike me as
size changers, for
that.
example.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and folks, if you've got some combat questions, do feel free to drop them in chat. I have a question about when it comes to the kinds of archetype that you two just enjoy. Like, what do you gravitate towards?
Alex?
I like characters that have a lot of options and can do a different thing every round. I like mystics a
Clearly.
lot. I like crime fighters. I like energy controllers for specific kinds of energy control. Like I play a ferrokinetic in my ongoing campaign right now, and he's so much fun.
Now, say that
Mm,
again. A pharaoh that's kinetic.
Yeah, so like Magneto, I call him the unpaid intern of magnetism, where Magneto is the master of magnetism.
Gotcha. I
right,
thought you said like a pharaoh, like a from Egypt, kind of
Mm.
being a telekinetic.
right,
But
right. I have the
I
mental
just
control of
control
the rulers
mummies.
of Egypt.
yes, exactly, exactly. That's great.
That's right. I'm playing the new
Yeah,
Scarab.
right?
There you go. Okay, well, so now one of the things that I love about the community and just mutants and masterminds in general, and I wanted to know if this was like, was this by design? Was it something that kind of came as a result of just the community itself, what? Maybe we can even look at why or what compels people to do this. But there are so many different kinds of character sheets out there, or stat blocks, or people putting together sort of, well, this is what it would look like if you were this, or if you did that, or you did
Mhm.
these things. Now, what is it about mutants and masterminds that is compelling to do that? Because it is, I mean, it's ubiquitous.
Well, I mean, Mutants and Masterminds takes a toolkit approach to character design.
Mhm.
So it's not only very modular, but it's also designed so you can get in there and scratch build it yourself from however way, whatever way you want. So um, while there's certainly an interest in, just ordering off the menu, and saying, I want, this, and this, there are a lot of folks who just enjoy the process of building characters and saying, how would I do X? And coming up with interesting ways to use the system to do new and different things.
I
So,
gotcha. Yeah, and that
yeah.
does make sense. And because it's so modular that you could just pick a character here, pick a character there, the stat blocks are there and it fits with your theme and what you're trying to do. You can just drop them right in.
Yeah, so many iconic characters can be built from different archetypes depending on how you interpret that character.
Right.
Like Wonder Woman can be a weapon master or a warrior or a paragon in some instances. It just depends on where you're coming from design wise.
I like that. That's a great insight into sort of what you look at when you're thinking about the components of a hero or the components of a character. That's really interesting. Let's see. We've got some high-minded stuff happening here. Let's see, Sean. You've got all right, we're still seeing one of the issue. Okay. All right. What do you think about that?
Well, that's particularly why we chose this example, was to demonstrate that sort of two extremes, of the spectrum, so far as that goes. And there is a certain, I mean, I don't know if you want to say it's a bias or not. There is a certain advantage that super tough characters have over super dodgy characters, just because toughness is a more passive ability. So if you're really hard to hurt, you're really hard to hurt. But characters who are relying on their dodge ability, if they get hit, they can, take a lot of damage. And that largely tends to reflect the way it seems to work in the comics for the most part. And a lot of it is really, a lot of it comes down to what Alex was trying, which is working your way through various power stunts and tricks that you can use to find ways around a character's toughness, so far as that goes.
Yeah, if I wanted to be a jerk, I could have been like, and I pull out my hypno wheel and try to hypnotize.
Well, I was going to suggest that. I was like, a will attack was really the thing that was definitely going to take the Powerhouse down.
I like the notion, Alex, that you've got a back pocket filled with all the back page comic things, like the X-rays specs,
right,
and
the
shocking hand thing, the sea monkeys. I love that.
Yep.
And I think also speaking to the sort of trade-off there is it comes down to party role almost, not necessarily to gamify it, but the crime fighters and the speedsters and stuff, they have a lot more things that they can do to make it easier for the powerhouses and paragons on the team to do their job of hitting somebody really hard. Like, I'm a good support player because I can make bad guys easier to hit. I have a daze ability where I can intimidate somebody into only taking one action around. Making concealment areas where people can't see. Getting with assessment, you can get specific numbers for different characters and feed that to your party members. It's teamwork.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. How much when you're designing encounters, are you thinking about how the variations of play that can, like, is it unusual for a GM to run something for two people or one or seven, or how do you think about that?
You have options, but the concept of Mutants and Masterminds is based around a superhero team. It's the idea that the characters are going to be, like Alex said, are going to be complementing each other's abilities and using teamwork as part of the action. So one-on-one fights tend to be relatively rare as far as that goes. I mean, it might come down to a team versus team thing. That's a bunch of little one-on-one fights, but there's still opportunities to trade opponents and mix things up and help out your allies and those kinds of things.
Gotcha.
So it is definitely based on the idea that it's going to be a group of characters working together. And I think, in my experience, if you're running a solo game, you want to be a lot more one, you want to give the player a little more coaching in their character design,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be a lot more liberal in giving them hero points, because they're totally reliant on what their character can do.
I'd say
Gotcha.
hero points and power points, so they can build a deeper character to cover more bases that way too.
We didn't really, and imagining that nobody has seen this before, they're watching this for the first time. You talk about the difference between hero and power points.
So a hero point is currency that is handed from the GM to the player during the game that enables in the moment exciting things to happen, and a power point is the foundational building block of your character.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Sorry, I'm. We figured out what happened. Why the two of you were in such a a row. But I'll grab it here in just a second. Claude mentions the team roles section in the Super Team Handbook, and that's what you read. That's where you grab the archetypes out of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, these are from the Heroes Handbook.
Oh, the Heroes Handbook. Got you. Okay, so talk a little bit about. I know this is kind of putting you on the spot. But I'm going to grab this piece of art. The team roles section and the Super Team Handbook in general. What is that as a resource?
So Super Team Handbook is basically the guide to how you build and use teams in Mutants and Masterminds. So it takes sort of a step back from the character level of things and looks at how your group builds an effective team. What are the different roles a team needs? How can characters fill those roles? What are the different ways that teams can work together to make themselves more effective? And we talk even about things like team advantages and things that are really focused on making a group of characters more effective rather than an individual character.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's something I use all the time when I'm building my convention pre-gens, because I make sure each character fills into some of the roles in the superhero team book, so that everybody has a chance to shine and they have a job, so to speak, in the story and in combat.
Okay, I like it. A question. One second. Sean asks, should effects objects just change the save type against constructs? I know Steve suggested, sorry, let me get this on the screen. Toughness for 2E and ORQ. What is ORQ?
I'm not sure in that context, but generally speaking, effects objects. I mean, when you're dealing with constructs as characters, that usually should be the case.
Gotcha. Okay, so here we go. I want to share, the amazing Stan. We just mentioned his name 3 times, and he appeared.
Right.
But instead of being a creepy murder guy, he is making things like this.
That's awesome.
A stickler for the rules.
So clearly Steve was the bad guy in this instance.
Yes, obviously.
Baton Man is a lifeguard in his super identity.
I like that. That makes sense, honestly. That really does make sense. Okay, that's fun.
I had to run to the changing room and change into my costume before the
safety first.
Safety first. My motto is always safety third. There's just so much going on. Okay, well that's great. Thank you, Stan. You are the best. I'm putting together a little retrospective of the art that we've received over the I think we've done now 4,000 episodes, and we've got Jacob in there, we've got Stan in there, we got quite a few really great pieces of art. And thank you, Jonesy's dropping links in the chat. This one to the Super Team Handbook. Nice. Okay, so great, Claude. It's like, Claude, you and I are just sharing a brain today. We're just in sync. It's like you're my co-host. But there are going to be some convention appearances in the nearish future. Do the two of you want to talk a little bit about what you've got cooking?
Alex is doing more cons than me, so he should start.
Sure. I will be at Origins in June here in Columbus. I'll be running 6 Mutants and Masterminds games. I will also be at Gen Con, where I'll be running some Mutants and Masterminds games. I will be at the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo as their special guest. I'm really excited about.
Nice.
And I'm running 2 games and a panel there, and I will be at UConn in Michigan. So all over the Midwest if you want to come play games with me anywhere.
And we've got some other ideas cooking behind the scenes for Gen Con, which includes some panels and maybe a Mutants Masterminds Monday and maybe some other stuff. But how about you, Steve?
I am also planning on being at Gen Con this year, but I don't have any other convention appearances planned yet. Conventions are still kind of coming back, so we'll see how things are going. But
Yeah,
I'm definitely planning on Gen Con.
Absolutely, and we share all this with that caveat in mind. A good thing to it depends on many different factors. Shows are chaotic alone without without
indeed.
when you're not in a pandemic. But awesome. Well, so this was very educational for me. As much as I am steeped in Mutants and Masterminds stuff, I rarely, and I get to watch and help with the live plays and all that stuff. I don't really get to kind of think about it. And in this sort of bite-sized bit of business, and I hope that was educational for folks who are watching as well. Congratulations to the Mulk for for prevailing.
It was a handed victory,
right?
Yeah. Oh, Jonesy, us too. Seriously, we are looking forward to seeing people.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. 100%. But yeah, so we are running up against it. What, if anything, do you have cooking that isn't, what's going on in the life of Alex? What's going on in the life of Steve? Go for it, Alex.
Tonight is the first night of our Starhaven stream, Guardians of Haven.
Nice.
It'll be starting in about an hour with our lovable alien miscreants in their new home.
Nice. Very, very nice. How about you, Steve?
I am wrapping up a release for my Icons Patreon at the beginning of the month, because it's always the beginning of the month. And otherwise, I am deep in the trenches working on various secret Green Room things that I can't talk about yet.
I saw at the beginning as you're answering, I could see you flipping through that list of things that you can't
I'm
talk
going
about.
through can't talk about that, can't talk about that. So and I just played Starfinder with my game group the other week. We have a Starfinder game that's been going on for like a good year now.
Fun.
That's been pretty fun. So
very nice, very nice. Jonesy reminds us that if you want to check out Untold Stories Project, you want to see Alex bring the love for Starhaven, you're going to want to go to twitch.tv/Untold Stories Project.
This is your opportunity to get in a ground floor of a new Alex campaign. So.
Yeah, always fun to watch, always fun to kind of see. I mean, maybe not quite as fun for the people playing, but I mean, it's a delight for the people watching, and that's all that matters.
Hey, I got knocked out in public today. I got to take it out on them later.
Right. That's right. All right, you two. Thank you for another awesome show. Alex, good luck tonight. Steve, we will all three of us plus Crystal will be back next Monday. You will also see us. We will be filling the space with Mutants and Masterminds infotainment on Thursday for Thursdage with Owen Casey Stevens. And we had our planning show last week, and it went off like gangbusters. I mean, it was really amazing. We've got some great stuff, and so we will go from there. And we are ending just before we could even possibly answer Sean's question, just as I designed. So everybody have a great week, and we will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.